Good morning, everyone. Today is Friday, June 12th, and it feels like Friday the 13th with the way the day has gone so far. But at any rate, we are recognizing several things today, some of which I know a little bit about, some of which I know precious little about. So we'll have to do some searching today on the internet to find out, especially about what Crowded Nest Day, Awareness Day is. I'm unaware of it, so I've got some work that I need to do to educate myself. Today is also Ghost in the Machine Day, which is about the philosophy of whether we are bodies with a soul or souls with a body, and the arguments back and forth about that. It's also a Little League Girls Baseball Day. It is Loving Day, which Loving versus Virginia. It was an important case in interracial marriage, and a wonderful movie that was made about it a few years ago called Loving. So read up on that. Some very important work there. It's Magic Day, celebrating illusionists and magicians of all types, and National Marriage Day. Today is also National Automotive Service Professionals Day. So if there is someone upon whom you rely for your auto repairs, be sure to show your appreciation to them. It's also National Jerky Day. So there are all types of that, all kinds of meats and vegetables and fruits that get made into jerky. So enjoy some of that if you have it. It's National Peanut Butter Cookie Day, which I could use a whole plate of those right now. A little comfort food in the midst of all the things going on. World Day Against Child Labor. And the United Methodists, or Methodists in their history, now United Methodists, have long been a part of fighting child labor and helping to protect children. But a report came out in the news today that I just saw it today, that with COVID-19, it is creating a situation where children are being forced back into the workforce to try to bring resources into the families where they live to help provide for the family, or they've lost their family members and they are the sole breadwinners now. So there's a lot of work that still needs to be done with that. It's not a done deal, as we've seen with so many different things. This pandemic has uncovered so many inequities, and we have a lot of work to do. Today is also Superman Day. I am from a part of Illinois that's near Metropolis, Illinois. In fact, my mother was born near there, and Metropolis, Illinois has a giant Superman statue in the town square, as well as a museum and lots of things related to that. So that's sort of near and dear to my heart. And then today is also Red Rose Day. Today, while it was not for some reason on the list of things being observed, is the 4th anniversary of the shooting at Pulse nightclub, where 49 people were killed. And up to that point was the deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history that we have on the record books as far as domestic shooting goes. I know that there were also many other more deadly events where we have our armed forces involved in that as well. So we have a lot to be mindful of today, to think about how it is that we can respond and express the love of God in transforming this world into a better place. Our first scripture lesson is from Psalm 69, and we'll be reading the first 13 verses. And in this particular one, the psalmist, the writer, is feeling threatened from without, from a lot of different sources outside of them. And it's one of those where the psalmist cries out for revenge, for God to crush the enemy. And I know that sometimes when we find ourselves in those situations, we want our enemies wiped out. And a lot of times in these psalms, although we don't see it in this particular one, the Spirit of God calls out into their hearts and reminds them that it's not up to us to make that decision, that God is a God of forgiveness and grace and mercy. So Psalm 69, O God, rescue me. The waters are up to my chin. I'm wallowing in quicksand with no foothold for safety. I've slipped into deep water. The waves pound over me. I'm exhausted from calling. My throat is parched. My eyes are strained with looking for my God. The number of hairs on my head are fewer than the number of those who hate me without reason. Wrongful enemies are legion. How can I restore what I did not steal? God, you know I am a fool. My faults cannot be hidden from you. Let those who honor you not be ashamed because of me. O God of hosts, let those who seek you not be dismayed because of me. O God of Israel, I take insults for your sake, and dishonor covers my face. I've become an outcast to my ancestors, a foreigner to my family. Zeal for your house consumes me. The insults of blasphemers fall upon me. By fasting I humbled myself, but this was used to reproach me. My garment was sackcloth, but I was laughed at by all. Those who lounge at the city's gate gossip about me, and I am the subject of drunkard songs. As for me, I pray to you for the time of your favor, O God. In your faithful love and with your constant help, answer me. Then we continue in Matthew chapter 16, verses 21 through 28. From that time on, Jesus began to explain to the disciples that he must go to Jerusalem to suffer many things at the hands of the leaders, chief priests, and religious scholars, and that he must be killed, and on the third day raised to life. Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. Never, Rabbi, he said, this will never happen to you. Jesus turned to Peter and said, Get yourself behind me, you Satan, for you are trying to make me stumble and fall. You're setting your mind not on the things of God, but mortals. Then Jesus said to the disciples, If you wish to come after me, you must deny your very selves. Take up the instrument of your own death and begin to follow in my footsteps. If you would save your life, you will lose it. But if you would lose your life for my sake, you will find it. What profit would you show if you gained the whole world but lost yourself? What can you offer in exchange for your very self? The promised one will come in the glory of Abba God, accompanied by the angels, and will repay all according to their conduct. The truth is, some of you standing here will not taste death before you see the coming of the promised one's reign. There are times where our own inner agendas get in the way of what God is trying to do. And there are times where we come face to face with that. We try to tell God what it is that we want, and God says, oh, but I have other things in mind. And those are moments where we have to be retaught, retrained in what God has in mind. And it's difficult to be open to that. Sometimes stubbornness and hard-headedness gets in the way, and we become a stumbling block to our own growth or to the growth of others. But God keeps calling us on that in hopes that we'll learn and grow and thrive in more of what God has in store. As we go to God in prayer this morning, if you have prayer concerns that you'd like to share, you can put them in the comments below or email me. I saw news this morning that a black trans woman, Dominique Fells, was killed and dismembered and left in the Philadelphia River. So be praying for her family and friends and community, as well as the countless number of names of others who have been killed or abused. And the prayer that I would like to share is from Prayers for a Planetary Pilgrim, and it's called Psalm of the Razor's Edge. The path we walk to you, O God, is narrow as a razor's edge. The way is only as wide as a human hair, and many are those who lose their balance on such a thin and uncertain edge. Each day, like a circus aerialist, I walk the tightrope of the command, "Come, follow me." Who can stride safely on such a narrow bridge which swings between heaven and earth? Downward is the pull of self. It tugs at me. For me, for me, for me. Heavy the gravity of the urge. I want, I want, I want. The way is narrow and high. Holy and brave are those who climb upon the razor's edge, swaying from left to right or right to left, straining too hard or relaxing too much. Holy are those who fall but rise again and climb back up upon the narrow edge and begin again and again. The way is narrow and high are those who walk it, one small step at a time, intoxicated by the risk, joyous at the fine balancing line of the razor's edge. Friends, this will be the last of the morning devotions for a while. I'm scheduled to have some surgery next week, and I also have some big projects coming up for the Wesley Foundation. So I'll be taking a few weeks off while I recuperate, and then I'll be back with you. But I hope that you have a blessed time and that God continues to blaze a trail of faith before each and every one of you, and that we have eyes to see, ears to hear. Amen.